Hi! So this video is supposed to go out last month, but it's going out this month. So let's see how this goes. Today I'm going to be working on my first ever OC Shadow. I made Shadow when I was about 5 years old, and she has to be one of my most favorite OCs to draw. Like honestly, one of my most favorite OCs in general. Shadow is a fantasy character, like a sci-fi fantasy character. She comes from a different planet. She is technically a demigod. Her grandmother is the head goddess or main goddess, Cyrene, of her planet Cyrene. And Shadow, her mom was a demigod, so her mom was the daughter of Cyrene, and Shadow was the daughter of Cyrene's daughter. I don't know what I renamed her to. I have not put it to memory yet. I've written it down somewhere. I just don't have it on me. Shadow has, here coming soon you'll notice it, but Shadow has 4 different body sheets, and each one is of the same character, just a different form. So Shadow herself, she is what is considered on her planet a warp snart, which is a person who has 2 souls. And so I have designs for both souls on here and a design for her demigod form. So Shadow actually has traits from both souls, and that's very normal. Like they always have traits of both souls. Sometimes it's more so traits of one soul than the other, and very rarely is it ever a perfect balance. And perfect balance generally is deemed by how the 2 souls function. How a person typically ends up with 2 souls in this story is they usually have a unborn twin, so a twin that was not able to come to this world by whatever means. Doesn't necessarily mean, actually it technically does mean they died. I mean, if you think about it, it kind of does mean it. So Shadow is basically a twin. Warp snarts are not very, they aren't very smiled upon. Most people don't really like them. Yeah, warp snart is typically used as a slur on their planet. In fact, one of her step siblings tried to call her, use that as a slur on her. And an interesting fact is that with warp snarts, they don't die of anything that revolves around the heart, so they have no heart. One soul actually takes over the place of a heart and resumes that function, and the other one does whatever, basically. So I mean, if one soul decided, oh, I'm not gonna be a heart anymore, I'm not gonna keep this body going, it's up to the other soul whether or not they're going to actually give up function or their hold over the body, or if they're both just gonna die. And that's common that most warp snarts pass away early in their life because one of them just decides, I don't want to do this. So like I mentioned, Shadow is the granddaughter of Cyrene, and Shadow, while technically is not a demigod, she did absorb powers from the gods themselves when she was frozen in time in the heavens. Shadow does not know either of her biological parents. Her parents passed away in the first war between the Mamaki and the Mamaki, and her mom gave birth to her during the war, and almost immediately after offering her to Cyrene for her safety. It was one of those things where a mom loves her child so much that she's willing to give up her child for her own safety. And so she ended up doing that, giving her child to Cyrene, who ended up having a life's plan for Shadow after seeing the war lost by her daughter. And so Shadow's mother actually passes away almost immediately after she gave up Shadow. But anyways, like I said, Shadow did absorb the power, like absorb God's power. So she is technically a demigod in that retrospect, that she is one related to a god. So she's the granddaughter of a god, and she has the powers of a god because she sat in a cataclysmic, I don't remember the word, but she basically was asleep in the heavens for hundreds of years. Anyways, Shadow's name actually was not meant to be Shadow, which is kind of funny, but her grandmother just said, fuck it, I'm gonna name you this because this is what you do, you know. Shadow has a variety of different abilities, and her name was given to her because she could sink into the shadows of anything. Like, she could go into any shadow whatsoever and just cease to exist in the normal plane of the world. And she is in this, as it is described, it's like being in a pool of black water. You could breathe while you're there, but there is nothing to see, and you can see light coming from the ceiling of the pool, and that is basically the realm at which you have you can exit into. So that was one of Shadow's very special abilities that she inherited from her father. Shadow is able to conjure and control fire, and which is an ability that she inherited from her mother, as well as magic. Her mom being the goddess of Oklor Sirem, who was the goddess of life, all life. Her mom taught everybody how to practice magic, and so, you know. Shadow actually is one of the highest ranking magic users on her planet. The little black dot on her forehead, the shape and the color of the dot defines what status you're in. So if you look at the one that has the crown on it, how it has that teardrop shape, that is the highest you could ever go. And for this grayed out one, it looks as though the gem had been ripped out, and that is the case because that soul isn't, you know, a magic user. So typically teardrop shaped black dots are that of high priests or high priestesses. And Shadow, one soul is technically classified to do priestess work immediately, and Shadow is due to inherit that as a high priestess, like become a high priestess, but she's also due to inherit the throne of the kingdom that she was actually born in, that her grandmother had founded hundreds of years ago. Her grandmother created the kingdom of Siremia and gave the throne to her daughter, Shadow's mother. Shadow's mother married her father, and then war had occurred not too long after. And the throne had not been resumed since by anyone in Shadow's bloodline, because Shadow was literally the end of her own bloodline. And so another Siremian being. So this person is a modern Siremian. Shadow is ancient Siremian. This person is was the current queen of Siremia, and she married Isis's father, which, you know, she's also Isis's biological mother, anyways. But she married Isis's father, who was the king of Mashuni. So the king of Mashuni. The heir of Mashuni married the queen of Siremia, and they had a daughter named Isis. And then not too long after their daughter was born, so several years later, the goddess Oklor Sirem came down to them and gave to them her grandchild Shadow, and told them to raise her as though she were their own, and explained to them that she has a higher purpose in life. Didn't go into any real details about it, just said, hey, she's got a higher purpose in life. So they raised Shadow to re-inherit the throne of Cyremia because it was rightfully hers, being the daughter of the first queen, and Isis would inherit Mashuni. So Isis would inherit Mashuni, even though she was the eldest sibling. So Shadow and Isis got along really good. They were great siblings. Isis was an amazing older sister, and Shadow was very, very mature for her age. Shadow is very wise, very knowledgeable, but she is not charismatic at all. She's not really romantic or anything. Like, she cannot express love, really. She has a hard time doing these things. Even though she ends up falling in love with another person down the road. But anyways, eventually the queen passes away, and Isis's father remarries another woman who has kids of her own. Her kids don't like Shadow, and that's fine. But anyways, that is the family dynamic there for Shadow, because I'm trying to rename one of the kids and rewrite the story and all that jazz. So I don't have a full story there anymore because of all of the revamping. Because like I said, she was my first character ever, and I made her when I was 5. Okay. But anyways, I mentioned earlier how Shadow is a demigod, and she is. Shadow, the wings that are on the character sheet there, those wings are wings of the head gods and goddesses. So Crozul, which is the brother of Oklor Cyrene, has wings as well. Crozul chopped off Oklor Cyrene's wings. Shadow's mother had wings as well. And Shadow's mother, she did not have very large wings. Shadow developed wings later in her life when she was supposed to, at one point in time, she is met by her mother's spirit, and her mother helps her to balance her 2 souls, and which unlocks basically the god state that she has. So Shadow is perfectly balanced perfectly balanced in life, and she's able to fulfill her grandmother's wishes, and that is basically Shadow. If I could talk about Shadow, more, I would talk about her all damn day. I kid you not on this. She has so much backstory to her because I've had her for, I don't know, 12 years now. I don't know. Yeah, it'd be about 12, I think. But anyways, so that's basically Shadow, the basics of Shadow. I know I forgot quite a bit, but oh well, it is what it is. I want to do a video where I'm building my character sheet, but oh well. Yeah, so if you guys enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe. Bye guys.